in the world. You obviously, when you had the chance to coach those showcase games, those were a little bit of an introduction, but what's it been like in the full view?
70% of your day, a lot of the times, is spent on recruiting. It's a year-round process. I never would imagine, and I've been in college football before, I've been recruited as a college athlete, that the degree of the recruiting now, where it's gone. You're talking about 2020 kids. We already are looking at 2020 kids. Well, really? 2020? How do you make a decision on 2020 kids? But when you watch tape and you evaluate and you think 2 years from now he's going to be this, he's going to be that kind of player. If I get him as a coach, how can I help him? All those things. So that's been interesting. It's been fun.
With your NFL background, comparing players for the NFL, does that give you a leg up when you're talking to some of these kids?
I think it helps you in this sense when you say, when you basically make a statement that we got a pro program. There's a lot of coaches that have pro programs, they just don't say it. We actually say it. But I think more than anything else, and I say this humbly, when you've been in the National Football League for 30 years, if I'm talking to a player, I got a feeling he's going to listen. I just got that funny feeling for some reason. He would probably go, I think Coach might know what he's talking about on this one. I don't know what I'm talking about a whole lot. My box in my world is real simple. It's kind of real small. I don't get outside my lane. I just stay in my box. I think I know a little bit about the game before. Not a lot, just a little bit, but enough to warrant if I speak to him. I hope. See?
When it comes to unfortunate instances like Tyler Valencia at Washington State last year, preventing certain things from happening, you're mad at all the history you have in the NFL and playing football and coaching football and being around the sport. What can be done differently? Or what's your take on that, given that now you're in college, you should be in the NFL?
It's always about gathering information from events that have taken place, and when they're tragic like that, more information is required. I think the safety of players in general is on the uptake. It's advanced as far as, look, I became a professional in 1977. The advancement of safety in football, period, from 1977 right now, it's just unimaginable how far it's come, and it will continue to grow. And I think with coaches being more aware, with the physicians being more aware, with players themselves being more aware that I don't have to act like I'm a tough guy all the time. If something is ailing me, I actually can say something's wrong and I'm okay. And I just think the more we make players aware, the safety of the game is critical, because it's about the game, it's about the protection of the players. And I think it has really taken from the 70s to right now, the era that I played in, it's advanced and it's helped the game tremendously.
Herm, you were used to having to put out an injury report every week in the NFL. They don't require that in college football, but it's something that's been discussed. Yeah. With your experience having dealt with that, is it a hindrance to a coach, or how would you feel? Do you like this better that you don't have to disclose the injuries, or how do you feel about that?
I think as a former player, you like to look at the injury report of your opponent, because if a guy had a sore shoulder and he was going to play, guess what? You're going to ask him, is his shoulder hurt? No, you're going to hit him on the shoulder, right? So I think as good as we want to be forthright with letting know people's injuries, you kind of put the player in a bad position if he's going to play, right? I mean, so if we're trying to protect the players on one side of it, if he doesn't play, that's one thing, but what if he does? Look at it that way. Because me being an opponent, when I played corner, I looked on that list. I was in there Tuesday. Who's on the list, man? Falcons. We played. Who we got? Oh, really? And that's what you do. That's just human nature, right? So I would just be careful and I know the other reason, and I'm not even getting the other reason. Stay away from that. Not for me to comment. You guys can figure it out.
What's your biggest concern going into the start of practice, Herm?
My biggest concern, I think, is getting the guys that have just come in, the new players, the tempo of practice. They haven't felt that yet. You can already tell they don't understand the tempo of just running with those guys and lifting. It was kind of shocking, because they all say, when you're talking to them, yeah, coach, I've been running, I've been lifting, and I'm kind of chuckling. I say, yeah, it's just like a rookie coming in, as a rookie coming into the NFL. Yeah, I've been working, and then all of a sudden, the first day, you go, ooh, they're a little bit different. And so I just think, getting those guys through the first couple days, as you guys know, and you guys are local, we're not going to have the ability to go to Camp T up to Camp Cush. And so, with that being said, I don't know if you guys know yet, might as well know, I'll tell you right now, we're going to practice tonight. But we are going to go to Camp Cush. We're going to travel up there on Wednesday. We're going to go through the ceremonies of going up there and pay tribute to one of the greatest college football coaches ever coached, and Frank Cush. And we're going to take the team up there, and we're going to do a little something that Wednesday. So that's kind of, we're going to make sure these young guys understand the history and the legacy of going up there. I think that's important. So we're still going to do that, but we're going to practice tonight.
So you're just going up there for the day and then coming back?
Okay. Look for a day, maybe have a walkthrough, have a little meeting or something, have them walk the hill, do the deal. So I think it's good. Keep that right.
Manny Wilkins has gone through a different coordinator every year for the last few years. Does that help him accelerate what you guys are trying to do at all as a leader? Or
well, I think what helps him as well is that he's been able to adjust, but also Rob Likens keeping a lot of the offense in order. And that's why, to be quite honest, when I took the job, I knew Billy was eventually going to get an offer to be a head coach. We discussed that. I kind of go back with Coach Likens when he was at Cal. It's kind of ironic, as I played up in the American Century in the golf tournament and played with Jared golf. And so about the fourth hole, we get Likens on the phone. What are you doing? I said, we're playing golf. And so it was me and Jared, when we were talking about Coach Likens, and he was asking, Coach, why did you hire him? I said, well, I've watched him from afar, and I thought for Manny's sake and for the offense's sake, we've done some things a little bit different, but for the most part, it's Manny's offense. And it should be. And he's worthy of that. He's been the quarterback. So he didn't want to disrupt that. So I think that was important. And I was fortunate enough that he would take the job.
And where's he at from a leadership standpoint, would you say?
Continually growing. And a lot of these guys on the committee have never been asked to do that. And I think it's good for them, because they got to do that. They got to get out of their comfort zone. Most young people in today's world, they want to be liked. It's almost like on that phone, they want their likes. They want to be respected. And sometimes you got to fight across the stream to be respected. So I think they're learning that, and they've done a pretty good job.
All your newcomers, are they qualified, good to go?
Yes, as far as I know, as of today. It's a good group. We're excited about, as we talked about in the spring, we're going to get some more guys to compete. A couple of them right away, when they were running with the guys, they kind of stood out. And a couple of the guys that were already on the team said, Coach, who are those guys? I said, kind of like those guys, huh? They said, they look a little different, Coach. I said, well, that's kind of what we're trying to do, get some different guys in there. So they caught the attention of a couple of them.
And who were those guys?
I ain't gonna mention.
Coach, what did you know about the Pac-12 when you took the job, and what have you learned just in studying over the summer?
Well, I knew a lot about it. Look, I'm a West Coast guy. I'm always, I played in the Pac-8, so this is who I am. I'm a West Coast guy. I followed the Pac-12 when I was young. It was a Pac-8. I played in it. Very competitive in the sense, and I said it, Stanford the last 6 years won the conference 4 times. They've been very consistent. When you look at the overall view of the South and the North, Stanford and SC in the last 3 years have won 21 games. Washington State 19. I believe Utah has won 14. We've won 12 in conference play. And so that kind of shows you where it's at. There's a couple of teams that have 21 and 19 are pretty good, 3 years. And so you want to aspire to be one of those teams. You know, how do you do that? And so I think that's kind of a little bit of the vision that when I look at those teams, because you know, when you've been in football your whole life, you study your conference, you study the division you're in. Well, I studied the conference, and you go, what makes this conference? Big athletic people, right? Throw the ball around a lot, right? Okay, a lot of good quarterbacks. And you're talking what 30+ players got drafted out of this conference. So there's talent, and I understand the talent. I live on the West Coast. I know where all these kids are going. And you say to yourself, okay, how do you build your team in that image to be competitive consistently in the Pac-12? And I think that's the work we have. You know, that's work in progress. But I think we've done a nice job of starting it. We have a good group of players that have played in the conference. They know how to win in the conference, so that's exciting. But you know, you play at night some, and you don't get the recognition you like on the East Coast because people are going to bed. I get that part. But if you want to watch skilled athletes at all positions, the Pac-12 kind of brings that. You know, when it does, it really, really does. So that's exciting for me to be a part of it.
As a former cornerback, I mean, you like what you saw from Chase Lucas and Kobe Williams in the spring?
I do, and we got a couple of young ones that are starting to develop. And you know, and we will stress the corners in our system. They're going to get stressed because I just think the way college football is played now, there's a couple things you have to realize. You're not going to stop people from gaining yards. It's impossible. And I say that when I went to Alabama and I watched some of these great defenses with you know 6 or 7 NFL players. They don't stop people. How they stop them is real simple. They get them in bad downs. They play really good in the red zone. You take the ball away. You make them one-dimensional. You know, even though we're spread offenses and all that, you cannot allow people to run the football on you. I just see you can't do that. And then the one that always holds up in defense is you got to knock the quarterback down. I mean a lot. You got to hit him. You got to hit the guy. You got to storm the castle. You got to hit the guy. You got to knock him down. And when you knock him down, game changes. And so you got to be able to do that. And I think if we can do that enough, then you got a chance.
Coach, I know you play for Coach Vermeil, but Claude Gilbert's a great coach. And he's
got that right.
He's still around. This is a great resource for you. How much do you still talk to Coach Vermeil or Coach?
I haven't talked to Claude in quite some time, and Claude was my coach at San Diego State. He took over when Coryell left and offered me my first job at San Jose State. He gave me my first coaching job, and I'm indebted to that man. A great football coach. I mean, learned a lot from him. And Dick, Dick's like my second dad. My father died my first year in the league, and Dick became kind of like my dad. I've known the man since I was 17 years old. He still calls me once a month. It's Coach. And I call him Coach. How you doing? I'm doing good, Coach. And we have a nice little conversation, and he's one of the best. I mean, he is a great human being. He's a fabulous football coach. You know, and it's kind of ironic. He sat out a little longer than I did and came back, and I can remember I was calling him on the phone when I was coaching. I said, Coach, you got to go back. You got to go back. When I came back, one of the first calls I get, right? Oh, I'm glad you're going back. You got to go back. He was all excited, you know. So he's my guy. Coach Vermeil's my guy.
All right, I'm going to do it for everyone.